Before starting with Microsoft Bookings, it's important to review the knowledge article, Best Practice Tips for Microsoft Bookings at Schools and Preschools, which is available on Edit. Microsoft Bookings allows you to provide a public-facing scheduling system that can simplify how people book appointments with you. This could be for managing parent and teacher meetings or tracking attendance for school events or trips. In this video, I'm going to take you through setting up a bookings page and creating a service for parent-teacher meetings. To get started with bookings, go to www.office.com and sign in with your @Schools email address and password. Select Bookings from the app launcher, and if it doesn't appear in your list of apps showing, select All Apps and you should be able to find it in the full list there. The first time you use Bookings, you'll be presented with a screen to get Microsoft Bookings. Choose Get It Now, add your site information, and you're ready to start.
The view that you are presented with is the classic view, which if you click on the Home menu item, your screen will look like this. We're going to be using the new view, so we'll toggle on Try New Bookings for the updated experience. We're going to work our way up the menu list on the left-hand side. First thing we need to do is set up our business information. This is just the information about our school or preschool. We'll expand the basic details section. We already have a name from when we created the booking calendar. The email address for a customer replies defaults to the user that set up the calendar, but you can change this to a generic email address for your site. You can add your website URL if you like. No need to add currency as we're not charging for services. And then business type can be education. This is optional. Then we can expand the privacy policy section. This is where you can link to your privacy policy if you wish. Expand the business logo section. Here you can add your school logo or image of your choice. Click on Add Logo, browse to the image, and select Open and save those changes. Now we'll expand the business hours section. This is where you can show what your specific business hours are, but you don't need to do this, so this can be left as is. Click on Save at the top of the screen. We're going to skip over services for now and come back to that. Next step is to add staff if required. If you want your families to be able to book with specific teachers, you will need to add the staff here. For this example, I won't be adding any staff, but for your information, the person setting up the calendar will automatically be included. To add additional staff, just select Add New Staff, search for them in the system, determine their role, untick Events on Office Calendar Affect Availability, and leave Use Business Hours on. Once that's all done, select Save Changes. Customers we're going to leave because this would only be used to track paying customers and we don't have that in our environment. We'll move on to the bookings page, and this is what appears to parents and carers when they come to book the parent-teacher meetings. We want to configure our bookings page to allow our families to book with us. This needs to be available to anyone. In the Business Page Access Control section, we want to disable direct search engine indexing of the booking page. This will prevent our page from appearing in Google or Bing search results and ensures access to the page is limited to the generic page link. Also, if we like, and for extra protection, we can require a one-time password to create bookings. Doing this ensures that the person booking has a valid email address. Next step is customer data usage consent. You can add your own personal data collection and usage consent message here. Next up is the default scheduling policy. You can leave the default scheduling policy as is because we're going to use the specific services to determine the timeframes that can be used for parent-teacher meetings. There are certain settings we may want to adjust as a default, such as send a meeting invite to the customer and allowing customers to choose a specific person for the booking. We can set this as default, as well as the general availability to be not bookable. Here we can customize our bookings page so we can determine how it's presented. We can switch between the new and classic template depending on your preference, and we can add color schemes and choose to display our logo. Finally, we have our region and time zone settings. It's important to check these to ensure all bookings are made in the correct time zone, and I'd recommend tick Always Show time slots in the business time zone. We click Save at the top of the screen, but if there's information that I haven't entered properly, it will warn me, and then I can fix that up and select Save. Now we'll move on to services. So this is where we are creating the services that we are going to be providing. In this case, the parent and teacher meetings. Sometimes there may already be a service there that you can't delete. In some instances, a service needs to be there by default. Once you create a new service, you'll be able to delete the irrelevant service. So to add our service, we click on Add New Service, and then we go through adding a series of information. In the basic details section, we give the service a name. So in this case, Parent-Teacher Meetings Term 1. If you like, you can provide a description. If you're going to be holding the meetings online, you can add an online meeting, and this will attach the Teams meeting link to the booking. Set the duration of the meeting. For this example, I'm going to say 15 minutes. You can also add buffer time, which I will do, for 5 minutes after each meeting. This allows for a meeting going over or time for a short break in between each meeting. You can enable parents and carers to manage appointments you may have booked on their behalf by toggling this button on. But if you would prefer to manage this yourself, please leave off. Here we can also set the maximum number of attendees. So in this case, we want to keep it to 1 because we don't want parents booking at the same time. Onto availability options now. We are going to turn off use the default online scheduling and availability policy because we want our availability times to be very specific for these parent-teacher meetings. We want the time increments to show for parents and carers as the meeting duration plus buffer time. So in this example, 20 minutes. You can also set the maximum and minimum lead times for bookings and cancellations. So if I don't want anyone booking or changing their booking less than 24 hours prior to the meeting time, I can set that here. And I can also say how far in advance I want people to be able to book. In this case, I might make it 2 weeks. For availability, I want the general availability to be not bookable, and I'm going to set a different availability for a specific date range. If the interview time slots are the same for every day of the interviews, you can set the date range or you can determine times for individual days. For example, on the 4th of April, I'm going to set some custom hours for the specific times of 9 till 11 a.m. and then from 1 to 4 p.m. We can delete the other days as they are not required. I can repeat that for the 5th of April and the specific times for that day of 9:30 to 11:30 and 12:30 to 3:30. And I can repeat that for any other days I'll be holding the meetings. Assigned staff only needs to be used if you would like to give parents and carers a choice of teachers for the interviews. Custom fields is where you can determine what appears on the booking form for parents and carers to complete. There is some default custom information that you can turn on or off and make required, but you can also create your own custom fields if there is information you'd like to capture during this process. For example, do you have any particular concerns about your child? We can create that and save it, and then either select or deselect for our particular form. We also have the ability to set reminders and notifications, so we can set email notifications for certain intervals prior to the scheduled meeting that the parents and carers will receive. We can edit any default reminders or create a new one. To do this, we can select Add an email reminder, select the interval, and enter the text that you would like to appear on the reminder. Finally, we need to ensure our Publishing Options button is toggled on so that our service appears on the booking page, and then we can select Save Changes. At any time, we can go back and review our services. Here we have our Parent-Teacher Meetings Term 1, and we can click on the pencil icon or select Edit Service on the main screen. Here we have the previous service that we don't require. I can now hover over that and select Delete. Now that everything is set up, we can review our bookings page, and I'll show you what it looks like to the parent caregiver booking the meeting. To get to your online bookings page, click on the link here under your booking page. The parents will be able to look at what dates are available and then see the available time slots for that day. So they can select the time that they want. They can add their details to the form, including the extra information you requested via your custom fields, and then click Book. They will get a confirmation of the booking immediately, as well as an email containing a .ics file that they can save to their calendars. The meeting request will go into your calendar and show the parent and carer details as per the booking form. From the perspective of the calendar within Bookings, you will be able to see a full view of all of the bookings on the particular days for our parent-teacher interviews.